Hello, and again, welcome. I express all of Claire and everyone's sentiments. Thank you so much for showing up to this crazy idea in this crazy world we're in right now. Um, and for those of you who we've never met, my name is Louie, and I'm glad to meet you. And I'm at Black Dog Forge in Georgetown neighborhood of Seattle, Washington, and I've been here in this shop for a couple of years. And one of the things that I've loved to do the most, and one of the least profitable things I do, is obsessed with tapping on copper and bronze and light thin steel with little chisels and hammers in the art of repoussé. It's really a wonderful thing to do. I kind of shoehorn it into as many jobs as I can. And what I want to do today is, in this very first webinar we're doing educationally, is to go over how I do the tooling, because that's something we can handle technically showing my iPhone camera. I'm going to go over from beginning to end the way I make my tools. And I'm going to turn around right now, and I'm going to turn my camera screen around so I can show you, give you a little tour. Now, here's a little tour. Here's these are the tools I'm talking about. And over the roughly 15 or so years, 18 years that I've been doing this, every job seems to require some other problem solving. And us, as many of people out there who are blacksmiths, know what that means. It means tools. Tools that you may even use just once ever in your career. You still have making your shop look like a very well-stocked place. So I use at least 20 or 25 of tools like this on almost everything I do. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with what the look of repoussé is, I'm going to, pardon my moving the camera quickly, I'm going to come around to this side. Ooh, and show you, just give you some quick examples. The reason that the tools that I'm going to show you are the kind that, those tiny little things that we hit with tiny little hammers are to be, are used to make, this kind of stuff, which is, I'm going to take
now,
this piece.
Louie,
Yeah.
pardon my interruption, but we just had excellent feedback from the attendees. We forgot to remind all of our demonstrators, if you could please turn your video to the horizontal view so we get the maximum range of vision. Thank you.
Oh, for me to do that, so it's like this? Is that better? Or for the viewers to do?
It would be for you to do.
Like this?
So if you, that hasn't quite changed anything. So right now I say, you just do as you're doing. It's beautiful work. It's absolutely gorgeous. And and we'll figure that out for the next time, so we don't interrupt anymore. Thank you.
Sure.
Apologies.
I'm not sure how to. Okay, so here it is. No problem. Now the tiny little tools that I use dozens of to do each problem-solving effort are so that I can both the chasing and repoussé. As a quick description is, chasing is when you work from the top of the work like this, and a repoussé is technically when you work from the back. We simply just say repoussé nowadays because why say chasing repoussé and waste syllables. So here we are. This is the work that I create with the tools I'm going to show you how I make. Here's a few sets of tools that I made, and here's some other tools that in the repoussé classes that we will do someday. You'll see how this stuff is used. Somebody's glasses. And there we go. Okay. So that's the intro. That's what we're going after, making the tools that'll make this stuff. Well, this and hundreds of hours and many annoyed roommates or housemates that will hear you doing this work. If you know the work, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, take everyone's word for it. Anyway, I'm over here. Now, Kim, who's going to help me with the camera work on this from here on out, so that I can use two hands to actually work, is going to, there she is in front of the camera, which that's where she wouldn't want to be. I'm going to tap the camera And no, it's on forward view. So here we go. Kim, and I'm going to start by, you can aim it at that for a moment. I'm gonna talk for a second. Oh, wait a second. Come back here. I'm sorry. Sorry, Kim. I forgot to, the first time teaching here online, so I'm going to ask for forgiveness on this part. The tools, these tools that we were just talking about, are made from a variety of different things. Not a huge variety. Over the years, I've worked it out so that using these, this is a 4-inch by 5/16 diameter grade 8 machine bolt. Very simple. You know, buy by the bag. You know, buy them 50 at a time. I always have some around to make tools out of. We're working with copper and brass and bronze and extremely lightweight filled steel, and so that, except for the sharpest tools like these, some of the really sharp ones, most of them are like blunt, you know, very blunt tools, and you don't really need the kind of you know, like tool steel integrity that, you know, that heavy, you know, like the cutting, you know, chisels for, you know, things that you're working hot metal with. We're working mostly cold, annealed, super thin, super soft by its composition, you know, materials. So anything can do. There are many of these tools that can be made out of mild steel and last your entire career, or wrought iron for that matter. But I'd like to make it a little bit, you know, I like to be a little bit cooler than that. So I use a grade 8, a very hard machine, you know, grade of bolt. And if I have to, I can, you know, just clip the end off. But here's a selection of ones that are like in the, you've just been in the scrap pile, half finished, you know, in the scrap pile. But and here's another thing that I use when I can get it, is these valve stems. These are from automotive valves, and the exhaust ones are a little bit stronger than the intake ones, but for Christ's sake, don't even matter. It's super hard steel, and it's super murderous on your sanding belts to do these tools. So nice we can get it, very available. Just the grade 8. I like the 5/16 diameter. It makes basically, if you have a big meaty hand, you might want 3/8. If you're a delicate little flower, you might want 1/4 inch. It don't matter. The methods I'm going to show you can be applied to any size you choose. I know someone's going to say, well, where are the square ones, right? The fact of the matter is I don't use any square ones because I just don't like them. And when you're spending hours and hours doing this work, it really is 100% what's comfortable and what you like. And that's it on that. I think I'm going to go through, and as we go through the, don't look at that. If you go by all the tools, I'm going to show you how I use. I'm trying to move this camera slowly so we don't get too much, you know, digital interference or whatever. Who knows? So let me see. Okay, so during the time that I'm running these machines are loud. And I think that they're going to take over this camera, the phone that I'm using, a sound system, and dominate the sound. So I'm not going to be able to talk a whole lot while I'm going to try to yell into the mic. This is an experiment, so let me know later whether you heard.
One moment, Louie, before you turn that on. Someone did have a question from Jack Pines. He says,
hey, Jack.
Are you hitting up? No. Are you hitting up scrap yards for the valves?
Oh, basically, I've been doing this for years, and going to the NWBA conferences has resulted in connections with people that give you things. I would say you could go to an auto mechanic shop or a scrap yard to find those materials. But honest to God, I would, yeah, you can. They usually come in sets of 8 or 6 because cars have that many cylinders, rather 12 or 16 being valves. So yes, you go to auto mechanic is a better place. Scrap yard, who knows? They might not be interested in talking to you about that, but get a mechanic friend to help you out with that, Jack. And good to hear you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks, y'all. And just as a heads up, it may get a little bit loud when he turns his machine on. So, you might want to turn your volume down a few notches.
Okay.
Thank you,
Now,
Lou.
just for the heck of it here, and just because somebody's going to yell at me for not being safe, I'm wearing hearing protection right now because it's also my sound system, like it's also how I'm listening. But I'm also wearing these gloves, you see, latex gloves, which when you're using a belt sander or any rapidly rotating tool like this, like a drill press or a belt sander of any kind, it is absolutely insane to wear gloves, to wear heavy gloves. These gloves will tear if in an instant, like an outer layer of skin if I get it caught. But other gloves will get, if they get caught here, you're going to lose a finger. Do not wear gloves while operating any sanding, like high-speed sanding equipment or drill press. It's just crazy. And I'm also wearing eye protection, which is my reading glasses. And for this operation, they are safe enough. But hearing protection, hearing protection, eye protection, and this is great protection. Just these gloves. They take a layer of heat off off what you're holding, and I like them. I think they look fabulous too, huh? Anyway, Tim, who's going to remain visually anonymous, I'm going to hand the camera to Tim, and then I'm going to start by taking one of those bolts I was telling you about and making it into a tool that I will also bring over and show you what I'm going to make out of it. All right, hang tight.
Please tell us what the shop puppy's name is. He's so handsome. Oh, look at that sweet smile.
I turned my back on Tim for a minute, and what happens? Okay, that's Stella. She's our new girl. Now, what I'm doing now is I'm loading. I'm going to take. Now, this is it. This is not. I didn't invent this trick by any means, but this is a poor man's lathe operation here. I'm going to take. I pre-clipped a bunch of those 5/16 grade 5 bolts. I'm going to put it into a drill motor, tighten it up, and then I'm going to turn on the belt sander. And this is how I'm going to, first one I'm going to do is just going to be a regular, like round tip, round tip one. I will show you what it is in a second. But I'm going to flip it around to the other side here. Now I'm going to clench it. And it's tight. Okay, now the quieting. It's quieting. So now I have like about about an eighth of an inch of round. Like this could be that size punch. This could be one that just leaves impressions of that size all over the background of the work. And or it could be any. I have over there in that collection meter, so I have like at least 8 different sizes of this diameter for whatever purpose I need. And so I'm going to take this. Now this is basically it, but this is like if you use a magnifying loupe, which is what I use to check the finality on all the tools I make, you would see that this is a very coarse. The rust is still on there from where it was sitting around. So I'm going to take it over to the second sander, which is the one right behind you, Kim. And oh, son of a gun! I just noticed that this thing still has the belt in it. Prepared. Oh, I'm going to change the belt on this real quick. Is there any questions?
All right. If we have any questions from the gallery, you can either write them in the chat section or you can write them in the Q&A section. For those of you who have joined us a little late, we are in the Georgetown neighborhood of Seattle, Washington. We're at the shop of Louie Raffloer, and he is demonstrating how to change a belt. And also demonstrating, and he is also demonstrating how to make tools for chasing and reposing. And then there is a question. Are you worried, Louie, about, and this is from Jerry, are you worried about the temper on the tools when you're grinding, about affecting that? Do you look for color or anything?
Very good question, Jerry. It's no, I'm not. The reason I'm not worried about it is because, as I explained when I was going through the materials, like using the grade 8 bolts or using the valve stems, or you can use a mild steel or pure iron if you want, is we're not really doing a lot of work where maintaining the sharp edge is entirely necessary, which and nor are we like using it for, you know, repeated blows through thick metals. It's just, no, I'm absolutely never worried about that. I'm letting the composition of the metal that they're made out of be as hard as they are. The grade 8 bolts have been fine for years. I've had some that I've been using that still have their polished edge on them years after I made them out of the grade, maybe even grade 5 bolts, even older material. So the answer, I guess the short answer is no. I'm not worried about it at all. So
excellent.
So
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And nice to hear you, Jerry. So I'm going to now. I took it from that sander where I roughed it out. You can get close and see how rough that is. It's rough sanded. So I'm going to take it and I change the belt on this to a much finer one, and you will see it change immediately. Watch this. This is a great tool. So, okay, I got that. I got the next level. This all happens so much faster when you're not explaining it. But so I did
we do have a couple of questions. Pardon my interruption.
Not a problem at all. No.
Russ Smalley had asked, what sort of length of bolts do you recommend?
Again, there's a comfort level issue there. I buy 4-inch bolts. I like to have, you know, about when I hold them to work with them, you know, I kind of hold them like this, and I like to have enough above my knuckle so I don't hit it with the hammer, and enough to have, you know, clearance at the bottom. So I like the 4-inch. Can anyone hear that dog fight going on? Get out of here. So I like the 4-inch, but again, if you have a bigger hand, you get 5-inch ones. Try it all. This is how I take a piece of round metal, this whole thing, and turn it into a tool. So I just choose it for my own comfort. So I'm going to go
also, just so you know, the next time you turn on a machine, I'm going to mute your audio because it is getting a bit loud, and it's so we'll just make sure that you'll talk only when your machine's off, and that way people can hear your voice better. Thank you.
Very good suggestion. And yeah, could you actually hear me saying anything while the machines were running when I was trying to talk into the camera?
It was very reduced, and so you know, you could pieces, but and then also Jerry has asked, do you round the corner on the tool edge?
I'm going to get right to that right now. Yes,
understood.
Indeed. That's very important. So yes. That's a very important part that actually distinguishes it as a tool that will work well for repoussé. Is not, because you never, it looks like a punch right now, but you don't want it to act like a punch. You don't want a sharp, like if I had a drawing board here, I'd draw a picture of an edge and how it's ever so slightly rounded rather than being a scissor, scissor sharp straight edge. So actually, I will do one more step on here where I'm going to turn it on, and then finally, when I get this end as polished as this belt is going to get it, I will turn it around real quick. And it's rotating, so it's going to grab, I'm just going to turn it down. I can do this while it's off, actually. They go like that. Through that magnifying loop, I look to make sure that all the sides are equally as chamfered, not chamfered, but smoothed over. You don't want this to be a cutting tool unless you want it to be a cutting tool. Then you leave it sharp and call it, a punching things holes, in a belt or in the metal itself. But that's not the case. So here, I'm going to look right now. You can't see through here, unfortunately, yet. It's not quite rounded off as much. I'm going to show you how I'll take it to that step. So now I'm going to move over here to where this is rubber. It's very dense rubber. And this is a variety of sandpapers. I've been using this piece for years. I just use little corners of it. So I start with, go ahead.
On the sandpaper, people have asked what grit belts do you use, and work your way down to the sandpaper.
Very good questions. That first one was roughing it down, and that I believe is like a 36 grit. Let me have a quick look. Stay here, Kim. Yes, that was 36. It did the hard work of dragging down that metal, and cutting it away. It was the smaller, this little Delta sander I have that is 120. That the last one that I did it on, the power tool, was 120. And now I never even know what they are. I just can tell by the look of the grit which ones are the rougher ones. 220. We've got 120 here. This, I probably wouldn't even use for this, but I'm going to go with the 220 next, and then down to these, I think such a variety of them, just 1200, So what I'm going to do now is, I'm not going to run it on the power tool at all yet. I'm going to, this is something I can even do. I usually like to say, don't try this at home, kids, but definitely try this at home. Wear gloves, rubber gloves. That helps polish it up. This outer polish here is purely for just comfort and looks. It looks like a nice finished tool when it's all shiny. So, but I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to do the head. I'm doing this against a rubber background, so it isn't this. So it reduces the amount that this cuts into the metal. Yeah. I could look at it again, but I kind of know. Here I am showing you how to look at it.
It's so cool. It's a great trick.
Yeah. Then here's a finer 1200 grit. Now, while I'm talking about that rounded edge, when, like, let's say I thought that edge needed to be rounded a lot more, check this out. I'm going to take that 220 grit, 120 grit, and if I push it down into the rubber, the hole it's trying to create is the edges of that hole are gonna sand down the edge of this. So, there. Yep. It took a little bit. It rounded the edge slightly. That slightly, again, is just enough to not rip the metal as you're working it, to create, design. So, okay, I'm going to go back to this one again and restore that finish. So I'm moving it around, and I can even flip it back and forth to get the edge, make it a little bit more convex. And then I'm going to go to the 1200 or the 500, to the 500. This is all by guess or by golly, you know. I'm showing you the way to start. The way to, you're going to teach yourself more about this in the first couple of hours of doing it than I'm teaching you in this, you know, with this. You will learn quickly. It helps to have a, you know, previous knowledge of metal, but I can see myself almost see myself in that. So what I'm going to do, because I really can't get enough of looking at myself, I'm going to, now, yesterday I broke the rheostat on this, the foot pedal, like a fool. So, oh, I'll explain what this is. This is like a bench jeweler's polishing, you know, thing from a job Mary had years ago. It's got a, you know, soft, like cloth pad on this side and a harder composite pad of some kind. I don't know what this stuff is. I don't really pay attention to this kind of tooling very much, but I know it does something for me that I like. And that is with this stuff on it, this compound, and again, look this up. It's, you know, just buffing compound, and look it up, and, you know, you're going to teach yourself more about this. Then I'm going to turn it on by plugging it in, so I don't have my speeds anymore. Okay, that's that. Now this is actually, I can see just by holding it in the light that it's glinting, and it's a very mirror-esque finish. Mirror-esque. I know I didn't make that word up, but I claim it for the day. So I'm going to put this one down now. I'm going to call this finished, although I wouldn't put it in my kit that I sell until I was sure. Until I'm sure this is a mirror finish on there. Now the mirror finish and on these tools is essential, because when you're working, many of the techniques that you're working when you're doing the actual repoussé, you're tapping the hammer and dragging it along. And as you know, experienced blacksmiths know that if you have aberrations in the surface of something that you're planishing with, it could catch in the material or leave an indent in the material that is the shape of that, you know, imperfection. Being a mirror finish, you know that, you know, you're just driving force, you're moving the metal without impressing it. On the other hand, you could mess up one of these tips and have a great stamp to, you know, put texture in. Another option. I don't even use a single one like that, but I tend to use the chisels in various ways to create different patterns on the metal. And I have a very uneducated approach towards this. So everything is, like I said, is by guess or by golly for me. And so I'm going to put this one down. Then, how's our time doing, Claire?
We are doing well. I'd say, you know, comfortably, if you have another 10 minutes,
Yep.
Because once we actually started with you, you know, we'll kind of shoot for around 30 minutes. We're not going to be real.
Okay. I just don't want to overstay. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I do want to give voice to Joe Elliott, of course. What would a demonstration be without his obvious questions? He just asked, is that a new t-shirt? It looks so shiny and black. Thank you, Joe.
Yep. I have 3 of these shirts, and I wear them to they're for going. These are my going to Sunday meeting shirts, or going to temple, whatever. And I love these shirts. Thank you for noticing, Joe. Dan Schwartz, our former shopmate and business partner, makes them, and so I always make sure and, you know, steal one from him whenever he's got a display of them somewhere. So isn't it great? Anyway, back to the subject. And yes, I just want to check on the time, see if I was overstaying my welcome here. But I'm going to now just using, I'm going to create, that was just a very simple method. These tools are so complicated. some of them are, like this one. It's like you might not get from that lesson how like a tool like that was made. I'm going to do one now, and I'm pretty much going to do it from start to finish without explanation so that we don't waste, I think we learn from what we see. So let's just do one like this from beginning to end. Kim, could you join me as the that sender? While I get this, okay. All righty. Okay. Okay, and by beginning to end, I mean, I'm literally going to take one of the ones that I bought. That's a grade 8, machine bolt, 5/16 by 4 inches. I'm going to put it in my drill motor. And then I'm going to, okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, do what I said. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. It should be obvious to everyone what I'm doing by seeing me do it. So now let's take this from beginning to end, no cuts. So. I'm changing my battery.
Mhm. All right. I'm going to cut in and ask Louie.
I'm listening. Oh, I can hear you. Oh, I can hear you. Yeah,
okay.
just like I have my head, I can hear you even though I can't see you. So.
Yeah.
But now you can see me.
Someone has asked, oh, why are you putting that taper behind the working end of the chisel?
I'm so happy you asked because I was working out my explanation for that while I was doing it. There's a reason why, and many of my tools have that on it, and that is because if you look at this, if you have the straight, that's 5/16 right down to the end. Sure, it's a lot stronger and will remain stronger forever that way, but I can see around it. When I'm working on the repoussé, it's less of a huge thing in my face and blocking my way. I can see around it. That's the reason. So so I can visually see around it. Yeah.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Yes, thank you for your answer.
Okay, I'm going to go around to this side again. I'm going to smooth that out. I do like to, this is a little choppy right there. And you know what? It's fine the way it is. I'm going to take it to this sander and finish and smooth it off there where I have more flexibility. I don't want to run I constantly am running my drill into the sander here. So, so I'm going to turn this one on now and just clean up that It's still a little bit hexagonal there on this round part.
All right, and Louie, I have just unmuted you, so if you said anything important during that time you're at the sander, let us know.
Thank you. I did not, because the motor is running. We're learning here, aren't we? All right. I'm gonna clean this. A much quieter motor here. I'm gonna clean this one up. Okay. I'm even gonna do that. I have so many pieces. They're so old here. Well, this isn't even the whole collection. I have a box of this stuff. I just can't throw it away. I'm such a cheapskate. This is super high. There we go. Okay, cleaning it up now. Now that looks pretty darn good, but I can look through here and say, hell no. Oops, sorry, kids. All right. Yeah.
And someone asked, what do you call those two belt sanders? Like what types of models?
Oh, well, it's a Jet 4-inch, you know, it's hard to say. I don't know, they're belt sanders. That's what I know them as. I never even got to introduce them by their real names. Jet and Delta. Jet's the big one, Delta's the little one. And the big one is a 4-inch by 48 belt. It's very hard to find them with the spindle at the other end for the wire brush now, because they all have this big sanding disc, a flat sanding disc that you know, it's just as good. This is an expensive tool, even Jet, about a $600 tool. And I'm sorry, what? Pardon? Oh, Tim just asked if this could be done without a belt sander. As it can, like, it would be very difficult to do some of the extreme tapering that we're doing without it. But you don't, as you know, we don't really need to have done all this extreme tapering. There's many tools you can make using the smaller one, or just whatever you can do to make a variety of ends smooth and usable, and that have another end that you can hit with a small hammer. I'm kind of, whenever I teach, I try to emphasize the no excuse approach to getting something started and doing it, trying it, and screwing it up as many times as you have to. And so I'm going to get back to this tool, though. I hope that wasn't too evasive of an answer on the sanding belt.
I think that was a fair answer. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to take this one to that next step we've done before. I don't like looking through the loop. I don't like the edges. I'm going to take the edges down a little bit on this one. I like that. So I'm going to go to a polish, more of a polish. Okay. And I can see that, yeah, it's pretty much looking through there. I have no, the lines that you see on a ground item. I don't have those there now. So I'm going to go to my polisher. And right now I'm going to plug that noisy little thing in.
All right.
Where's my
I'll
plug?
mute you when it starts.
Okay. Okay. Mute away.
You just, yeah, and you just give me a thumbs up. How about once you're done? And for those of you who are just joining us or who joined a little bit late, what you're watching is Louie Raffloer as he creates some chasing and repoussé tools out of grade A bolts that he has collected from auto shops and various places. He says the reason that he prefers these bolts is because their structural integrity is so good that as you're grinding them down on the grinders and such, you're not really going to affect too much if you cause it to lose its temper, as you will. And Patricia just asked, why does he want to take the lines out of the tool? I think he's referring to when he puts the eyepiece on his eyeball and looks, he's able to see just how smooth it is on the more molecular level. And so if he's looking in there and he's still seeing these grind lines, these scrapes that come through, he's still trying to buff those out. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong.
Phone like I needed to.
Right.
It's a good question, and I may not have emphasized it enough that the smoother the surface that it is, mirror finish being as smooth as it gets, the less resistance as you're moving it along. As you're like when you do the repoussé work, you'll find that you're using it as like an iron almost, and you're tapping down, and you're not going to leave the impression of whatever minuscule little scratch you have in it, nor are you going to catch the copper is soft and the steel is hard. So when you tap down, the copper could literally go into the crack and hold you up from having a smooth stroke. But I think it's more like the look of the metal, like on any planishing tool, when you're using regular blacksmithing techniques or this or jewelry. Planishing tools need to be as fine as so that they don't give their own flavor to the design. So, okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And also, I did want to say we're going to start wrapping up this demonstration because just to let folks know that we do have 2 more demonstrations after this. But from Bear Iron, he says, please tell Louie Bear says hi and thanks for being first. You are a favorite guinea pig. Thank you, Louie. Beautiful.
Okay. One more. Okay. So are we done then? Or
no, you do your final thing.
Okay, let me just finish this one up. There was one thing I didn't pull out before, like that often I'll take some Scotch-Brite and do that same thing I've been doing. This is the absolute final. This is how I clean them up for the sets that I sell.
Nice.
I give them an absolute clean touch. I'll check that. Okay.
Right. And people had to ask, what's your supplier for copper sheet? And also, where do you get the rubber mats from?
Okay. The rubber mats have been just found objects generally. I don't buy them. And it's just, there'll be a cutting mat at the thrift store and I'll cut it up into 5 different cutting mats. There'll be a piece of rubber left over from some, Tim, do you have some craft stores? Craft store might have it. And the copper. It's very, I got a large sheet. Last time I was teaching classes here, when I got the first payment for the class, I bought a 3 by 5 foot sheet of it or so from Online Metals. I like Online Metals. They're always fair and they deliver, when they say they will. I did discover Rio Grande, the jewelry supply company, was able to supply me with 0162 bronze sheet, which I couldn't find anywhere. I was literally forging heavier bronze into sheet on my power hammer to make it thinner, and never got to the thinness that I needed for the repoussé tools. So that's those two suppliers: Online Metals and Rio Grande for smaller mass. Rio Grande's a little pricier for the small sizes that they sell, but they were, again, good people to deal with. So yeah, so this one's done now, and I can go on and on and on because there's so many different like variations and problem solving that you can do with, but this is a way to make a couple different kinds of tools.
And I will say Russ Smalley asked, and I think it's a wonderful question to end on. Where could we buy the sets that you're making? Should one wish to?
Oh, I have, these are the sets. Let me, here's the infomercial part. Here's the set,
yeah.
All right? And can you, these are the sets I was selling at the conference. And they're basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 tools. Oh, yeah. And I have 4 sets left, and they're 150 a set. No, wait, I'm sorry, 120 a set. And if someone buys them from, if somebody buys them from seeing this video, I'll throw in a repoussé hammer to edit. Bring it up, make it 150, and I'll put in a repoussé hammer.
Ooh, beautiful. All right, and where does one go to? Do you have a website?
Oh, they can email me. I'm very easy to find. No, I don't have a website, but if they can figure out how to find me, that'll be their due diligence. And I have 4 sets here, and I can ship them or be here for them to pick them up anytime they want.
Indeed. And so
I'm not a really very good salesperson, but I make some damn good tools.
No, that's wonderful. Should anybody who's watching want to order some, you can send an email to webmaster@blacksmith.org, and we can get you connected if you don't find Louie on your own. That's beautiful. Well, Louie, I have to give you a round of applause. Thank you so much for being our first ever online demonstrator. That's huge. It really is. And everybody is saying, thank you, Louie. Cheers. That was great. Yeah, I mean, just wonderful. And just indeed, can't thank you enough.